Clarence Darrow said, "When we fully understand the brevity of life, its fleeting joys and unavoidable pains, when we accept the fact that all men and women are approaching an inevitable doom, the consciousness of it should make us more kindly and considerate of each other. This feeling should make men and women use their best efforts to help their fellow travelers on the road, to make the path brighter and easier as we journey on." When I was new in my role as a palliative care chaplain in the hospital, I was visiting a woman who had just gotten the news that her breast cancer, previously in remission, had come back. Just 6 months after going through a brutal chemotherapy regimen, she was looking at having to start up again, with an expectation that the chemotherapy would not be nearly as likely to work in this recurrence. As I sat with her in her hospital room, she said, "I just don't think I can go through chemo again. It nearly killed me the first time, but I don't think my kids would understand." Of course, I asked the obvious question, "Have you told them what you're thinking and how you're feeling?" She said, "Yes, but they don't seem to hear me. They just want me to keep doing everything possible to stay alive. But they aren't the ones going through this. They don't know how horrible it is." I voiced acknowledgement of the fact that she's the only one living in her body. And then she said, "You get it. Will you tell my family that I'm not going to do chemo?" Of course, I wanted to be her hero and take it out of her hands. And of course, I know I couldn't, but I did offer to set up a family meeting and be with her when she told them again herself. So we set up the meeting. A few minutes into the meeting, the patient told her family that she didn't want to do any treatment. And she was right. Her family basically ignored what she said. I interjected and brought attention to what the patient had said. And I said, "Your mom just said that she didn't want to do any treatment. She would rather let the cancer run its course than to endure any more treatment. I think it's worth acknowledging how hard that must be to say." My team, of course, supported me, and the family gave passing acknowledgement. But we moved on, and the family got their questions answered about what treatment would look like for the patient. I walked away from that family meeting feeling a little disappointed. I did my best to help the patient get her message across, but it didn't seem to land. The next day, I went back to see the patient again and commiserate about how her family didn't listen to her. And to my surprise, I found the patient smiling. She said, "Thank you so much for what you did for me," which is my favorite way to start a visit. And she said, "My family and I talked after the meeting, and they finally heard me. They finally considered what I was telling them and told me that it was okay if I didn't want to do treatment." Of course, I was so happy that I was a hero again. And then the patient said to me, "But I do think I'm going to go ahead and do some more treatment." In my mind, I said, "What the hell? All that work to end up at the same place we started." But what I actually said was something like, "Oh, tell me more about that." It seems that when they talked and her family was able to consider her position, she was able also to consider their position. Their agreement was that she would start treatment, but that she would tell them if and when she had had enough, and she would stop treatment then. Author Kira J. wrote, "The highest form of love is consideration. When someone thinks about how things will make you feel, pays attention to detail, holds you in regard when making decisions that could affect you. In any bond, how much they care about you can be found in how much they consider you." Consideration. That's the word that I thought of when sitting down to write about my conversation with Jeff. Jeff only found his cancer because he was trying and putting considerable effort into finding a way to donate a kidney. Not to a loved one, not because he thought there might be something in it for him, but because he knew there were people out there that needed a kidney. He knew that he had two, and he knew that he only really needed one. Jeff wrote a book, of course hoping that he'll make some money from the book, but not because he'll be able to take a long vacation with that money. He's hoping to help secure his family's future. And it's not only about the money. The whole purpose of the book is to pass along lessons to his children. Jeff was also clear that he would continue treatment for his cancer as long as treatment has a chance of extending his life. The choice is about his consideration of his family. It takes courage to forego treatment knowing that your life will be predictably shorter than if you had gotten treatment. It takes courage to go through treatment, knowing that the outcome is uncertain and that the side effects are likely to be pretty bad. It takes an immense amount of love to consider the well-being of others when choosing which courageous decision to make. And here's the turn. You might not be surprised to know that I don't need to be dying in order to consider others when making decisions about what I'm going to do or how I'm going to be. One of the things I carry with me from growing up as such an integral member of a church is that this message was instilled in me from a young age, and I guess I just believed it. Paul wrote, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself. Do not look only to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of the others." Now, I'm not advocating for martyrdom or complete disregard of self. But to this day, one of the ways I try to show my love is to consider others. It's easiest when I'm just trying to be hospitable or anticipating the needs of those I love. I know my wife likes Oreo Thins, so I try to have Oreo Thins in the pantry, even though they're an abomination. It's harder in other instances. I'm sure you can think of times when you're less likely to consider other people. But my goodness, don't you think that now, maybe more than ever, we could use a little consideration of others? And if you're thinking, yes, those people really should consider me, I think you may be misunderstanding me. It starts and ends with me. Can I take a moment? Can you take a moment to consider the needs of others? Even, perhaps, the people that I don't like, the people that didn't vote the way I did, the people that don't believe what I believe, even the people that don't like and don't consider me. I have to believe that's where the magic begins. I start to actually become a better person when I start to consider those I don't like, the ones that can't or won't do anything for me, the ones I would otherwise look down on. When I truly consider others, maybe I don't need a second kidney. Maybe I can go through a little more chemotherapy. Or maybe I can support a loved one deciding to stop chemotherapy. Maybe I can consider the idea that even the people that I hate have needs and deserve some consideration. And maybe that consideration will be given in return. And maybe not. And that's okay, because that isn't the point. Confucius said, "Consideration for others is the basis of a good life and a good society." I want to live a good life in a good society. I can't change society. I can't change other people. Like Ram Dass said, the only thing I can do for you is work on myself. And I think consideration of others is a good place to start. This is Dying to Tell You.
Hi, this is Chris, the producer for Dying to Tell You, and in our reflections, we're going to start including messages that have been left on our voicemail by the way, which is a way for people to call and leave a message for loved ones who are no longer with us. So we're going to play one of those, and if you would like to call in and leave a message for someone who is no longer with us and you just want to say hi or share a thought or an anecdote or I saw that weird guy walking down the street that we used to see all the time, leave a message. You can call 720-600-7056. That's 720-600-7056, and leave a message for whoever you want.
Angie, the last time we saw each other was in the spring of 2018 when I went back to our hometown for my baby shower. You came and you had bought the best little onesie for the little guy I was about to give birth to. And I'm so glad you were there. You were such a faithful friend, even though we didn't spend all that much time together in more recent years. You were always so faithful and so fun. and it was always worth it when we did get to see each other. And then I had my baby, and I was on maternity leave and exhausted, and I had no idea how sick you had gotten. I knew you hadn't been well and that your diabetes had taken over your life in a devastating way, but I truly had no idea how bad, how frightening, and how scary it had gotten for you that summer of 2018. And I wish I had called you. I wish I had explored it with you. Because when I found out early that fall that you had passed, I was so deeply sad. So Angie, I just want to tell you I'm sorry. I want to tell you I still think of you often. And I want to say thank you for being a friend. I love you, Aunt.